name is Gore, and I participated in the 2025 TGO challenge back in May. I've been wanting to do this gear overview of what I carried on my crossing for a while, and now it's December, so it's been like half a year. I figured out now it's about time to do it. I'm gonna go through the kit I brought. I carry quite minimalist ultralight gear, but it worked very well for the crossing. It was a bit of a special crossing because we had 20 degrees most days. I had freezing like 2 or 3 nights, so it was like very varied, you could say temperature wise, but it worked really well. My kit ended up weighing a bit less than 2.5 kilos combined, a base weight of a bit under 2.5 kilos. So it's borderline territory, what you call super ultralight. Normally ultralight is like 4.5 kilos and below, and super ultralight is half that, so 2.25. I'll go to the kit and explain how it worked and weights and all that kind of stuff, of course. What I wore most days, well, in the morning I would usually wear these wind pants. They are from a Slovenian company called Gram Expert. They weigh just under 40 grams. Really good to keeping out the wind and keeping quite warm in the morning where it's close to freezing. But otherwise I wouldn't wear it, maybe a bit in camp, but otherwise they stayed in my pack actually because it was so warm. And the same with the jacket. I wore that on some of the ridges. I did the Ben Nevis and the back half of the Charlie Ramsey round and stuff like this. So I did quite a bit of high route. So I wore my wind jacket for that part, but most of the time I was just wearing a thin sun hoodie. This is from a small company called Gearswift. It weighs just under 60 grams. I really like it because it has good long arms and thumb loops, and it has a good hoodie, so you can really cover in, and it's fairly roomy, so you can have layers underneath it. Just gonna take my cat away. On me most of the time I would have some long wool tights. I really like sort of these long boxers, you could say. These are from a Danish company, it's called Sustainable, which is around 80% wool and then 20% synthetic material, really good and stretchy. Gave me no issues. On my feet I would wear some normal, this is Stoic, but it could be down towards anything else, short wool socks, ankle length wool socks. And then I wore the same shoes as I had on now, Zero Shoes Scrambler Low, which are really nice. They are sort of a barefoot minimalist shoes, which work really well. My top layer was this Icebreaker sun hoodie. I have different sun hoodies, but this one worked quite well, like a thin sun hoodie, which worked really well on the very exposed, and worked really well for the high route and exposed parts where you were out in the sun the most days, wearing the hoodie on top and then my hat. If it was really cold, sometimes, mostly for camp use, I also had my Zipax Oxa hoodie, which is around 120 grams. Works really well as a mid layer and camp layer, and I had it on like once in the morning where it was just around freezing when I started in the morning, but otherwise it was only for camp use. But could have, of course, if it was colder and wetter, have used it underneath my rain gear. On my lower legs I would have these sort of wool bottoms that I could extend up to my knees, and then they would be covered entire leg length. But most of the time I didn't really use them because it ended up being so warm. In the morning I would have them up to my knees and then have warm legs, and then I would just take them down. That added a bit of protection for the lower legs when I was doing like off-trail bits. And then over the wool tights I would have some shorts. These are just Houdini Pace Light shorts, which are quite nice and thin and light. Have pockets, which I really like, and then just like a cover shorts. They don't have an inner part, so they are around 70 grams. So that's what I wore, besides my shoes, of course. So this is my pack for the trip. I use Nashville packs. This is called the Bridge, but they changed the name now, so it's all cutaways. This is the 20-liter version of their pack. They have like 20, 30 and 40-liter versions. I also have the bigger 30-liter that I use for more extended food carries when I'm in the mountains. On the TGO challenge here, I usually didn't carry food more than 2 to 3 days often. There are towns and stuff like this. Weighs around 300 grams. This is a prototype in Alula graphite fabric, which is this new sort of next gen ultra next gen GCF material. Very light. This is around 70 grams per meter. So some of the lightest you can get for a backpack. Works really well. I don't have any issues with it. It has these running vest style straps on the front, which I use for water bottles. I have 2 half-liter water bottles that I use here. And then usually I have my phone here on the front also as well. And on the other side I have some sunglasses, some Umbra sunglasses. And on the other side here I have a small compass up here, a silver compass. And then I have my headlamp up here, which on the TGO maybe you don't really need a headlamp, because usually you have plenty of light for this one, but I always bring a headlamp. This is a Nightcore in U20 Classic, which is around 35 grams. I did a bit of modifications to it. On the backpack here, it's a frameless pack, so it doesn't really have anything here. It's just a big bag, but I have something here on the back. I have some foam panels. This is not my main sleeping bag, but I use these for breaks, and I use it to put underneath my sleeping mat. I have sort of this opened one that gives a bit of ventilation to your back. And then I have a 3-length Gossamer Gear thin light folded here, which is quite nice to combine. These are around 50 grams in all. So I use it for breaks, of course, for camp, and for putting under my sleeping mat. On the side here now I have my trekking poles, but mostly I was using them, of course. These are Black Diamonds carbon FLZ, the ones that can be adapted. They're around 170 grams. And then also on the outside I have my rain gear. I use this small Japanese brand called Yamato Mishi. Some really nice rain pants. They use this 3-layered Pertex Air fabric. These are just under 80 grams for the rain pant. And the jacket is around 140 grams. This is a bit of a special jacket because it's sort of longer length. It doesn't really have any zippers or anything, but you have down to your knees, sort of opened down here, which works really well. Often if it's good weather, I just have this on, and then I have a bit of wet legs, but it doesn't really bother me much. So they're really good for sort of summer trips. Besides this, on the outside I have my medic kit in this small pouch, or medical repair kit. Some different band-aids and blister treatments mainly, and some glue and stuff for repairing. Didn't really use it, luckily. This is around 40 grams, depending a bit on what I have. A poop kit, just some wipes and some wet wipes, and a bit of soap, and I have a bidet I can put on my water bottles that you use if you really need to clean up. Mostly I use paper, but sometimes I use the bidet just to get clean. But again, this is around 30-40 grams. And I have my steak kit on the outside also as well. I usually bring around 8 steaks for the top I bring, and could be a mixture of different types of steaks. On this one I mostly bring the Eastern Nanos, which I really like. They have a good holding power and quite light, 8 grams. And besides this, on the outside I would have, well, most of the time I would have this on, but my hat, my cap, which is also Yamato Mishi. And then I will have a liter Catadin B3. This is the version with the active carbon filter as well. So I have 2 liters carry capacity in all, and that was more than enough. Plenty of water in Scotland. And then I would have some waterproof gloves as well. This is Light, a small French company. They are around 20 grams for the gloves. So that's everything on the outside. Then on the bottom here, there's also a bottom pocket. A mouse in one of the shelters ate its way through my bottom pocket. But I use this for snacks and for maps down here. I had physical maps of the trip as well. Inside the pack, on top, I would almost always have my shelter. This is the Hexamid pocket top, which is like a shaped DCF top, weighs around 150 grams, works really well. And then I have my sort of diddy bag here with electronics and stuff. Have a 10,000 milliamp power bank, would have a charger, have some cables, toothpaste and toothbrush, and so on. And yeah, that's basically it. And here I would have my extra clothes. So I have a pair of loose alpha sleeves, so just for your arms, which I really like. I can adjust in this kind of way. This is also Yamato Mishi. I would have a long sleeved wool thin shirt here with a hoodie again. This is Montreal, around 140 grams. The sleeves are around 35 grams. Some socks again, same pair. I would have one extra pair of socks. Then I have this that I often used in the mornings and afternoons maybe. This is like an Alpha Direct vest from Yamatomishi, where you have some Alpha Direct here, this fleece material on the front, and then on the back you have this very thin, very breathable material. So you have some warmth here on the core and the torso where you really want it in front, and then you have something that's very breathable on the back where you have your backpack. This works really well. This is one of my favorite mid layers. And then I would have some knee-length woolen underwear. This is Ortovox, makes their 120 grams per square meter series. This is only 70 grams, and the vest is also 75 grams. So that's the extra clothing. And then I have my food bag. I had this custom printed in Sweden. A small company called Vakja Gear that makes these custom prints food bags. I didn't really bring a stove. I often go stoveless when I go these longer summer trips, so that works well for me. So this was just food for 2 to 3 days. I would often bring, like for the mornings, I would have just some muesli. I would have like a small bag I could put it in and eat it from, and a small spoon. And then I would have tortillas for lunch often, like breads, and then some cheese and some sausage and stuff to put in it. And then the evenings I would often actually also eat the tortillas. And then when I get into town, I would eat like a proper meal. That worked well. The last part is, because I use the tarp, I also have a bivvy. There wasn't really that many midges, so that wasn't really an issue for me, but this works well also to add some bit of extra warmth, and some nights I would just sleep in this when the weather was nice. This is a Gear Swift bivvy with a windproof but not waterproof top layer, and then a DCF on the bottom here. This is around 115 grams at full mosquito protection. I really use this quite often. And then my last part of my sleep system was a CPAX summer quilt, which is a really light down quilt, weighs 270 grams. It's rated for around 4 degrees centigrade. I used it down on this trip a bit below 0. I sleep quite warm, so this worked well for me. I didn't have any issues freezing. I didn't even have to put on all my clothes, so that was just fine. I could have gone like 3, 4, 5 degrees lower with this setup, so maybe -5, something like this, -7. Worked really well. Lightweight fleece, lightweight quilt. And last part is this new, the Nemo Tensor Air, or Tensor Elite that I brought. This is the short version because I'm quite short and I often sleep on my stomach, so I just have my head out and use my clothes bag for a pillow. So this is 220 grams. So that's my basic setup, just around 2.3, 2.4 kilos in all, and then with food for 3 days, I think was the maximum, which is around 1.5, 1.7 kilos, and then 1 liter of water. So I ended up maxing out around 5 kilos all in all, maximum weight 5.5 kilos with food and water. That worked perfectly on me for this trip. I think if the weather would have been a bit more wet, well, I still had full rain gear and I had plenty of protection in my shelter, so I didn't really see I could have any issues with it. But of course, from my experience, having good weather gear like the sun hoodie and so on actually made this more enjoyable than some people I met on the trip that were quite warm and had problem dehydrating and stuff like this. So for this trip, it worked perfectly. I've used it on other similar trips also with worse weather, so it works well in 2 to 3 season setup down to perhaps a bit below minus degrees, and especially on these very sort of challenging solo outings. I did most days, all in all, I did around 400 kilometers on the crossing on 9 days. So I did around 45 kilometers per day and around 2,000 meters of altitude gain per day. I did I think I did 8 of the 10 highest peaks in Scotland on the trip. So it was sort of a challenge in that kind of way. So light gear works very well for this kind of trip. So for my crossing, this was certainly perfect. And when you're doing big miles, long days, this is really, for me, a perfect setup where you have very light but still very functional, warm enough, and also adaptable clothing that I can adapt to the certain conditions with the vest and the arm sleeves and the leg sleeves and all these kind of things really make it very adaptable. It is not like sort of fully comfort, but for me this is plenty comfort. I have a full-length mattress that I sleep well on. I have a fairly roomy shelter that protects me. I have warm enough clothing that I can adapt to the situations, and I have a very comfortable and very light backpack that's easy and good to carry. So this is not for everyone for sure, but if you're looking into getting like a very light setup that works well when you're doing these sort of long miles, long kilometers, and long days, this is sort of, for me, around the perfect setup, I would imagine, for this. So I hope you had some inspiration on this. If you have any questions, of course, just ask them below in the comment section. I will share my lighter pack, my list for the trip, as well, as you can see more sort of in detail and on writing the different things I brought for the trip. And I hope that I get back to the TGO, not 26, but maybe 27, and do something similar like I did in 25.